My name is Alec Clayton, and the following is a presentation of 50 years of my painting condensed into about 10 minutes. But first, a quote from my novel, Until the Dawn. Painting can be an evil mistress. She can love you tender and she can love you raunchy, and she can rip your guts apart. When you put that last stroke on your canvas and you know you've done it right, and you step back to look at what you've done, a deep sigh comes all the way up from your loins, and you say, yes, yes, by God, I did it. But it can also be like a cramp in the pit of your stomach that wrenches your intestines and won't let go. Because to make a painting, you have to reach deep down inside and pull it out. And when it doesn't come, it's like the dry heaves. And the loneliness of it, the loneliness is unbearable. You're all alone in a huge loft, and you're slinging paint with concentration so intense it's exhausting. That was the character, Red Warner. But it could be me or any painter. So let's get started. My mother was a painter. When I was a small child, she set up an easel for me next to hers and let me paint alongside her. I did my first painting when I was 6 or 7 years old. I don't have any of those early paintings. This is the earliest one I have a picture of. I made it when I was a senior in college, 1967. It was about 6 feet wide. My idea was to combine two opposite types of art. Combining and balancing opposites became a major concern in most of my paintings over the next 50-odd years, but not until after graduate school. In grad school, I did a series of shaped canvases with stripes and zigzags, inspired by Frank Stella. This is a pencil study for one of those paintings. In 1973, I hitchhiked from Mississippi to New York. I didn't have the needed art supplies or space to make paintings, so I made little crayon drawings of street scenes. I discovered that I could get great surface effects by scraping the crayon drawings with a razor blade and then drawing back into them. I probably did 100 of these little drawings, and I gave them all away. I gave this one to my girlfriend at the time, Gabby, and then I married her, which is why I still have it. Back in Mississippi, I was teaching at my alma mater, the University of Southern Mississippi. The college had an exhibition of paintings by my friend and mentor, Thornton Willis. Thornton turned me on to oil sticks, saying they were the ultimate crayon, which was just what I needed at the time. I started doing figure paintings with oil sticks. This was one of the first ones I did. I had a show at a junior college in North Mississippi. Some of the paintings in the show were nudes. I didn't think they were particularly provocative, but the college president thought they were offensive and forced the art department to close the gallery and put this notice on the gallery door. Due to the nature of the subject matter of these works, this exhibition may be viewed by appointment only. If you would like to view the exhibit, please contact Robert Ring, Tom Douglas, or Lowell Baker in the art department, and we will arrange a time for a private tour of the gallery. Respectfully, W. Lowell Baker, Chairman, Department of Art. I felt I had to do something in response to this, so I did a bunch of paintings of nudes on boards that I cut to the shape of the figures, and I painted clothing that could be hooked onto them, so that if your prudish Aunt Nellie and Uncle Halsey came for a visit, you could put the clothes on. I call them paper dolls. Here we have photos of Big Joan, part of that series, clothed and unclothed versions. Attached to her dress is a painting of a mirror, and I can be seen in the mirror drawing her. Big Joan is 7 feet tall. The painting, not the woman who posed for it. She's about 5'6". The paper dolls led to a series of cut-out figures on boards. This one is a portrait of my son Bill. He was 7 years old and fell asleep on his chair, and I sketched him while he slept. 10 years later, Bill committed suicide after a gay bashing on the grounds of Olympia High School. I will never sell this painting. Starting in about 1987 and up until 1990, I did about 50 paintings of swimmers, mostly viewed partially in and partially out of water. The natural distortion of the figure underwater, combined with the more realistic view of the parts of the figure that are out of the water, played into my penchant for trying to balance different styles of painting. I did not use models for any of them, but drew them from a combination of memory and imagination. My friend Ron Henson talked me into doing abstract paintings. I stapled a large canvas to the wall and spread latex house paint and acrylic paint on it and scraped it with a trowel, mixing and moving the paint around as if dancing on the canvas. After the paint dried, I drew back into it with oil sticks. I titled the painting Decade because it was the beginning of a new decade, January 1990, and the beginning of a new type of painting. Then I did another and called it Decade Number 2, and then Number 3, and so forth. After Decade Number 70, I started giving them titles like Bird on a Wire and Petting Zoo, and I incorporated figures and parts of figures of humans and animals in with the abstract patterns and mark making. From then on, I went back and forth between figurative and abstract painting. This one is Daydreamer. Like the figures in the Swimmer series, this figure was a figment of my imagination. Cave Dweller is a dark and, I think, ominous image, and one of my favorite paintings. My friends argue over what the animal in the center of Petting Zoo is. Some say pig, some say cow. I think at the time I was thinking cow, and the smaller creature is a llama. In 1994, I did this crazy thing where I installed a 75-foot long painting that stretched around 3 walls in Childhood's Inn Gallery, plus 4 7-foot tall hanging panels. I sold pieces of the long painting priced by the foot. People selected the sections they wanted, and I cut them out and framed them. I still have about 15 feet of it framed as 4 different paintings. This one hung around my studio unfinished for the longest time. I wasn't satisfied with it. And then I took some black paint and quickly sketched in the 2 large shapes, and it was done in about 2 minutes. Bird on a Wire, named after a Leonard Cohen song I listened to while painting it. Dervish. This one won a $500 cash award for Best in Show at a show in the old Commencement Art Gallery in Tacoma. It now belongs to my son Noel. The Crossing, named after a Cormac McCarthy novel. Strange Fire is another of my favorites. It is now in the collection of my son Noel. In 2002, I had open heart surgery, and after that, I didn't have the energy to paint very much. But I kept trying, just not as much as before. For a few years, I made art on my computer, which I could do sitting down. Here are two examples of works from that period. I finally went back to attempting large paintings on canvas. I had a one-person show at South Puget Sound Community College in 2007, and I painted this one for that show. It was based on the three women in the previous image. After that, I did very few paintings. This one is called Explosion. It was one of the last paintings I did. In 2009, I was scheduled to do a show at the Washington State Convention Center in Seattle. I had an unfinished painting that had been hanging around my studio for a while, so I finished it in time for the show. And then I gave away all my art supplies and quit painting. Thank you for watching and listening. It has been my pleasure to share a little of my painting journey with you.